Hello, everybody. Good morning. This is Micaela Passeri with Release Trapped Emotions Live, coming to you from beautiful Florence, Italy. And even though we had a big storm this last couple of days and there was flooding and there was craziness, it's still my city and it's still beautiful. So anyway, we are here after a couple of weeks of hiatus due to my travel schedule, but wanted to come in and talk to you about, before my clients come on, wanted to kind of check in and see what real conversations we can have about emotionality. So most people acknowledge we're emotional beings, but most people, even though acknowledging that we're emotional beings, don't think of themselves as emotional beings. I know it's kind of like an oxymoron, right? The reason is that we're not really taught to see ourselves that way, right? We're not taught to think of ourselves as energetic, emotional beings that have these waves of energy in lower and higher frequencies come through our body as we experience the reality that we experience here on planet Earth. The other reason is that because it's intangible, it is not something that we can, touch, taste, feel, see, hear, right? It's difficult for us to really believe that we are energetic beings, that our emotions really guide us and rule our life, right? So the unfortunate news with that is that not thinking ourselves as emotional beings, not seeing ourselves as energetic beings, kind of gives us a crutch, gives us instead of a leg up, a leg down, right? Because we are obscured by part of our own reality. We are not operating to our full potential. We're not operating from the place of full embodiment of who we are. We're not operating from a place of taking advantage of all of our gifts and talents and things, right? So it kind of puts us at a disadvantage. And so that's why most people have issues. And yes, we do. We do have issues. We all have issues. Some light issues, some moderate issues, some more intense issues, but we do all have issues. And because of that, we tend to then operate at less than 100%. And so my job as an emotional intelligence coach is to help you see how your emotionality is really one of your best traits, how your emotionality is one of your best tools. It's kind of your secret ace in your pocket, right? If you know how to master yourself, if you know how to manage the ups and downs of the waves of that energy that emotions bring, right? If you know how to use your awareness, not only to be self-aware, but also to be aware of others, aware of your environment, aware of the subtle energies that you get exposed to. When you are in self-awareness and in awareness of your reality, you can actually consciously make decisions that are to your advantage and your benefit. You can manipulate in a good way, right? Manipulate is actually not a bad word. It's a good word. It's unfortunately has been given a negative connotation, but we want to manipulate our energy so that it benefits us. And so what does that mean? That means that when we are in a negative emotional experience, we want to manipulate that energy back to a positive, right? And it's called actually transmutation of energy. It's the ability that we all have. We just get to learn it and we get to practice it and we get to have it as and master it as a skill. But it's the skill that we all can learn to move a negative energy to a more positive energy, low frequency to a higher frequency, a negative event to a positive event. I'm sure you have all heard about, right? Oh, bad things happen, but there's the silver lining, right? There are silver linings to all of the not so good, bad experiences, experiences that maybe we don't want, right? The silver lining, right? If we're capable, and we all are capable, but if we are in mastery, we're then able to see that silver lining and then use it to inspire us to get ourselves, to grab ourselves out of the well of negative emotions and negative energy that we might have found ourselves in. And so, could be any type of experience, whether it's in your personal experience, maybe in a relationship where, argument with your partner, maybe with a situation where there's things that are uncomfortable for you to communicate with someone, whether it's maybe a family member, your partner, friend, right? And you're trying to navigate that interaction, but our conditioning might take us to hold back, maybe passively not communicate for fear of confrontation, or maybe for fear of retaliation, right? And so those are our conditioning. But instead of being victims to our own conditioning, we can transmute that maybe initial thought of, oh, I'm going to not communicate, not engage, because I'm afraid it makes me feel comfortable to have this conversation, is to actually then transmute that into a more positive and empowering conversation in place, which is like, okay, wait a minute. I know that by communicating, it's going to get me closer to resolution. It's going to help me solve this problem. It's going to give me what I want. It's going to help me experience what I want. It's going to get me to the goal that I want, whatever it is, right? But I'm uncomfortable with it, right? So my tendency would be to hold back and not communicate. Through my awareness and through my ability to transmute that negative feeling of discomfort to a more positive feeling of empowerment would be to act even though, right? So even though I'm feeling uncomfortable, I'm going to transmute, look at the silver lining, right? And transmute it into a more positive outcome for myself. So it might be comfortable going while I'm going through that communication, while I'm going through that, what I might perceive as a confrontation. But at the other end, because I actually stepped into courage, because I actually stepped into owning my mastery of myself and my desire to moment to moment to moment to have the most positive outcomes that I can have at any given time of my reality, right? Then I choose from where I want to be, not from what I'm afraid of, not from what I'm limited by, not from what makes me uncomfortable, right? So it's really allowing myself through my inner conversation of acknowledging my awareness, acknowledging where it's coming from, managing myself through whatever discomfort it's bringing me, whether it's fear, whether it's overwhelm, whether it's anxiety, whatever that might be, and using courage to actually get me to what it is that I want to experience, which is always on the other side of that discomfort. And so the power of transmuting negative emotional experiences into more positive and empowering experiences is mastery. And, as you can see in my little background here, right? Emotional money mastery, be the master of your flow. It's really being master of your flow, not only your money flow, but your flow of happiness, your flow of empowerment, your flow of love, your flow of health, your flow of finances, your flow of prosperity and abundance, your flow of joy. I don't know if I already said that. I said happiness, but joy as well, because happiness and joy are similar but different. So, right, so you get to be the master of your flow through learning the skill of perpetual transmutation of energy. And that's actually, it's actually it's connected to one of the laws of the universe. There's a law of the universe that states that, the universe is in constant flow. It's a constant flow. It's constant evolution. It's never stagnant, right? And because it's constantly moving and it's constantly changing, there is this constant shifting of energy, right? And the constant shifting of energy is usually at the will of the universe. But when we chunk it down to our reality here on this earth and what we're experiencing, it then becomes more manageable and more controllable through our intention, our awareness, our influence, our emotional intelligence, and then down into our actions and our decision making and our actions, right? And so we want to really become aware of how we have this power. It's a power that's innate within us, but we get to activate it through awareness. And we get to activate it through consciously using our self-awareness and our will and desire to make better choices for ourselves, to make more empowered choices for ourselves, to make choices that are in alignment with where we're going. So many times, I see people, both, amongst my clients and those that choose not to become my clients, right? And sometimes it's because they're still stuck in that limitation and that hook of the conditioning, right? But so many times I see that when we are in the process of making decisions, we're not making the decision from out there where we want to go, what we want to experience. We're making decisions from our current reality. And even worse yet, making decisions from our past reality, which is already gone. It's floated away. It doesn't exist anymore. Yet it's been imprinted in our mind and in our subconscious, and therefore our brain cannot help it. It's constantly predicting, and it only predicts based on what it already has experienced. And if it's experienced pain, suffering, betrayal, discomfort, anxiety, fear, guilt, grief, sorrow, anger, whatever, that's where it's going to predict from, right? And so here we are, we're trying to create a certain reality for ourselves, but we're basing it not from where we want to go, not from what we want to create, but we're basing it on what's present right now today, or what happened to us in the past. And sometimes what's present, most of the times actually, what's present today has nothing to do with what we want in the future or where we're going. What's present today we might be experiencing some lack and limitation. We might be experiencing some financial hardship. We might be experiencing, some breakup or situations in business that are uncomfortable and that are challenging and might be obstacles that we have to face and overcome, right? But that doesn't mean that that's where we make the decision from. Doesn't mean that that is going to be the reality, because remember, the universe is in perpetual transmutation of energy. It's constantly changing. So even if today I might be experiencing anxiety. I might be experiencing an obstacle in business. I might be experiencing an issue with my partner. I might be experiencing financial hardship. That doesn't mean that it's going to last for the rest of my time, right? And so if I'm making the decision from what's present today, which is fleeting, I'm not making a decision that's really truth-based. The only decision that is truth-based is what's aligned with what you want to create and where you're going in your life, right? So, I can give you an example, very simple example. Years ago, when I first kind of dove into the coaching arena and didn't even know what a coach was, had never hired a coach, and never paid for a coach. So it was the time where I was looking to hire my first coach. It was $10,000 for the year. I never paid that for anything at the time. The time I was living, so-called paycheck to paycheck. I didn't have a paycheck. I was my own boss, but I was living, right, month to month. My daughter was really, really little, so I also had most of my time taken up by being, a new mom and a newly single mom. So I only had a certain amount of time to work. And I knew, though, as I was considering hiring this coach, and looking at the amount of money that was going to entail, which was very scary. It was really scary. I never spent that on anything in my life. And certainly I never spent it on a coach because I never had a coach before. So you would think that in considering that, I would say, no, I can't afford it. I can't do it. It's too scary. It's too big. Let me do it on my own, or let me find someone cheaper, whatever. Right? But instead, I actually dove in and I made the decision I told myself, okay, so if I want to create something different than what I'm experiencing right now, I have to choose from a different place. I can't choose from where I've been. And where I've been was lack and limitation, discomfort, feeling inadequate, feeling insecure, feeling not confident, right? So I knew that if I kept on choosing from that place, I was going to get the same results that I was getting. And so what was my truth was, I didn't want to be in the same position a year from that day because I just stayed in the same place. So I knew, even if it was scary, even if it was something that I had never done, not disease, excuse me, that I needed to say yes, even though I had no idea how I was going to pay for it, even though I had no idea where the money was going to come from. I knew that making the decision from where I wanted to be, I knew that a year from that date, because I was going to hire this coach for a year, I knew that from a year from that date, I didn't want to be in the same position that I was on that day. And the only opportunity for me to do that was to have someone help me get there. And so it's really making that decision from where I wanted to be and not from where I was or where I had been. So when we talk of being a master of transmuting your negative emotions into positive emotions, negative experiences to positive experiences, it's really what I'm talking to you about, is becoming aware of where is your come from. Are you choosing from fear or love? Are you choosing from lack and limitation, or from possibility and where you're going, right? And what you want? Are you choosing from a place that is a patterned place? Are you choosing from something that could become a new, more empowering pattern? And so that's really what I want to offer in today's session, is really thinking about, where are you making your decisions from? Fear or love? Limitation or possibility? Your past or your future? And if your answer is, I've been making, decisions from my past, from limitation, then I would challenge you to see what tools and what support you can get that's out there that can bring you to becoming the master of your flow. And obviously, this is the work that I do. So if it is something that you feel called to even explore, I will put in the chat here on the Facebook Live. I'll put 15-minute call. You can, there's no obligation, no pressure, no nothing. And you can, at least we can have a conversation and see how I can support you to really become a master of standing in possibility instead of kind of punching in, punching out on what your patterned habitual doing has been, your habitual behavior has been. So perpetual transmutation of energy, that's what we live in. And we get to become masters of it. We get to become masters of seeking the positive, seeking the higher frequency, seeking the more empowered place to come from. Okay? So